It's safe to assume that Alhaitham is going to be one of, if not the most anticipated character for some people in the Sumeru region's release. Now, you might say Nahida is the most anticipated character, but that's likely just meta-wise. When it comes to characters' traits, appearances, I'm not gonna say the word, but generally speaking, the Genshin community has slight preferences towards certain types of characters over others. And when you got a man who has the physique of Alhaitham, it's safe to assume that he's going to sell relatively well. Not record-shattering, but relatively well. But what if I told you that there's much more to Alhaitham's character, and we need to look more into what Hoyoverse has been doing to their 5 stars up to date? I mean, especially with the last couple of them, to really get a better understanding for exactly what you should be looking for. And yeah, if you think these kind of videos are helpful, you can drop a like, or you can just ignore this and continue watching, because we're gonna jump right into it. With Alhaitham coming likely in a couple of weeks, if he's the first banner rotation, in 2 weeks he'll be right at our doorsteps, but if not, he's gonna be in the latter half when probably over a month. And especially with Chinese New Year rolling around, I don't think Hoyoverse is going to be generous enough to have Alhaitham to be on the second half, so you can pull for him with your free pulls. What likely is going to happen is he's going to be in the first half, which people likely are going to appreciate because you just want him to come sooner, right? Like, I can't wait, I want the man in my team. So Hoyoverse knocks it out of the park. 2 birds, 1 stone type of deal. Alhaitham comes first, and use your free summons for some random rerun banner in the latter half, right? It just makes sense. But apart from that, looking at the character in general, it's difficult really for me to get too excited for him when it comes to gameplay. So a lot of you guys might think, well, Walrus, you must have seen leaks, right? Like, but I assure you, once again, every time at this time of the patch, I once again assure you, I have not seen leaks. I don't know if I'm the only content creator out there who hasn't seen the leaks, or there are others out there who are talking about it. But this is actually pretty valuable in terms of, I think my experience is from the perspective of somebody who is still in the dark. Alhaitham really isn't too difficult to guess what he is going to do. Now, just because I can be slightly accurate with the character guesses doesn't mean I look at leaks, right? I think Alhaitham is likely going to be an on-field damage dealer. I don't think that's too big of a stretch. What he does, how he does damage, the type of damage that he specifically will do, and the type of comps that he will lean towards, that it's much more difficult to guess. In my opinion, I think he's going to lean more towards maybe quick and aggravate and maybe some hyper bloom comps. I don't really want to get into the details about burning and version because we haven't seen likely what Dehya does, because Dehya will and should promote that reactional play style, right? So how Alhaitham leans towards that, I don't know, that's too far off. But a character that you guys see I have on screen right here is somebody we can draw a lot of reference from. And here's where I think my concerns for Alhaitham really starts, is that how is he going to be different from Tignari, both playstyle wise as well as maybe damage wise? Because Alhaitham is a character that is, I mean, much more excited and hyped up than a character like Tignari. So just on that front, likely he's going to sell well and better. But if you look at the track record for Hoyoverse when it comes to anticipated characters, it really doesn't bode well for these characters. And I don't know if this is legitimate concern or just me trying to grasp at straws here, if that makes sense, right? I don't want to look for problems when there are none, but it's really not a stretch to say that character, especially 5-star characters, power level, scaling, and just general satisfaction of play has been really seesawing back and forth. On one hand, we have characters like Nahida, we have characters like Tignara, we have characters like even Nilu to a certain degree are very high functioning characters, well, efficient, and can be extremely powerful if you just put in a little bit of work. Yet, on the other hand, we have characters like Sino, we have characters like Scaramouche, who requires much more of your investment to make the characters work. Now, apart from Nahida, really, if you compare these characters, Tignari and Nilou were not highly anticipated characters. Yes, people were excited when they got teased. Like, I'm sure there were some Tignari fans out there, same for Nilou. But come on, really? You guys think they were more popular or more desirable than characters like Alhaitham and Scaramouche? I don't think so. I think you are lying to yourself if you think that Tignari and Nilou popularity-wise somehow outreach and out-edges Scaramouche and Alhaitham. So what's my point here? My point is these two popular characters, one of them has already been gutted, right? I mean, if you want to talk about Cyno as well, I'm sure Cyno was a very popular character. He still is, and he can work just fine if you're willing to put in the resource. And that's completely separate from my point though. My point right now is looking at the past, popular characters that are released are just completely at a disadvantageous state because, I don't know, call it biasness, but I honestly think HoYoverse is solely relying on the character's popularity to sell these banners, right? If a character is already incredibly popular and you know people are going to be dropping summons on them, why bother to make them strong and consistent and efficient at what they do? Because you already sold the character. You don't need to do any more. The two exceptions to this rule so far has been Archons as well as Ayaka. Ayaka as a character was extremely popular, especially since she was from the beta, but that also likely means that it left nothing or very little for HoYoverse to do to kind of screw her over. I'm sure they could have done something, but they decided to just release her in a very well-rounded and efficient state. However, what they realized afterwards with Yamiko was that, hey, a character doesn't have to be great on release for it to do well in terms of sales. If you think about it, HoYoverse has always looked to the future and the rerun banners to also populate sales. For example, Raiden Shogun, Hu Tao, these characters' rerun banners have been proven to do extremely well. So HoYoverse doesn't really need to grab the entirety of the bag in terms of their monetary gains right on the character's release banner. So with Yamiko, her rerun likely will perform just better than her original banner or at a similar rate. And for a character who's been out already, for a rerun to do the same as the original banner also says a lot. So with Alhaitham, what am I getting at? Likely Alhaitham is going to feel okay or maybe just good, right? He doesn't have to be amazing for him to sell. In fact, he is already sold. On release, Alhaitham's banner is going to just explode in popularity, and that's without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. I can say that. However, what now I'm worried about is compared to someone like Tignari, how much better is a character like Alhaitham going to be? Remember, Tignari can easily spoof. You can be hunting for an Alhaitham and end up with a Tignari or a Tignari constellation. This man is on the standard banner. You can get him outside of limited banner times, and likely you will get him in limited banner times for those of you who are both either lucky or unlucky enough to get this character. So if you have a limited character come out and he performs at a similar rate to this air quote free character, how does that make you feel? That is my question. To me, I don't think I really want that to be the case, right? Sure, Tignari could do good damage and Alhaitham could do similar damage to Tignari, but what if Alhaitham has more accessible teams? What if Alhaitham has a higher ceiling or Alhaitham has more weapon options? Give something that feels more premium to premium characters, and don't make it a situation where you need a certain 4-star or 5-star to draw out the power of certain 5-stars, right? So when it comes to Tignari, sure, pairing him with Nahida is going to be great, and I'm sure Alhaitham is going to love being paired in a team with Nahida as well, but at the same time, Nahida is not essential to be paired with any of these characters. Same for Cyno, same for Tignari, so likely the same for Alhaitham. Being able to function as a standalone character with different variations of compositions is key to having a good and solid character. I don't want Alhaitham to just be another option, but it's very likely that that's what he's just going to be, another option. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's very difficult to get excited for somebody who is just here to replace another character as an option as opposed to necessity. Yes, am I trying to say that I want power creep? It's hard to get away from it. Power creep does excite you in ways that, you know, these normal characters can't. But again, HoYoverse sells characters through the character traits. That's why the game is so easy and anybody can clear it. So there is no really need for power creeping. It's also why that there's no ladder, because competition breeds toxicity, which demands more powerful characters or puts too much stress on meta. At the end of the day, this is a video that shouldn't really worry you or upset you or poke fun at people who are excited for Alhaitham. I'm just here to present to you what I found when it comes to HoYoverse and popular characters, right? It's almost like a death sentence for a character to be popular in Genshin Impact, because you damn well know that if you're popular and you know you're gonna have a strong fan base, well then your kit's gonna be very average, or they're gonna force these people to work day and night to make these characters powerful, right? You're gonna be sitting here grinding your entire weekend away on multiple weekends just to make sure these characters are hitting great benchmark numbers. But what do I know? Please comment down below what you guys think when it comes to Alhaitham. I'm sure most of you guys are pulling for him, and also a good portion is gonna skip him as well. All in all, I think he's gonna be fine, but nothing too exciting here to look at. Until next time, urge y'all to stay safe. Peace, bye.